Good morning, honorable guests, presenters, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Center of Urban Studies and Urban Planning times Geospatial Lab Webinar. I'm Tammy Ho, today's MC. The theme of this webinar is exploration in applications of urban analytics in urban planning and design. We are so excited to have more than 30 participants here at the Geospatial Lab and more than 300 participants enrolled the webinar online. The presenters of this webinar are actually students of the Master of Science in Urban Analytics, MUA, and the Faculty of Architecture of the University of Hong Kong. These presentations are part of the final year projects. They are selected to showcase how they have applied qualitative and quantitative analysis of planning and development issues to formulate and document schemes for smart and sustainable city development. To begin with, we would like to invite Surveyor YC Chen, Head of the Spatial Data Office of the Development Bureau, the Government of HKSAR, to give us the opening remarks. Surveyor Chen, please.
Thank you very much, Tammy. Thank you all being here today with us, whether you are physically or through online mode. I know that some of you may be out of Hong Kong now, and hope that the time zone is okay with you. The event today affirms the collaboration between Geospatial Lab and the academia. It indeed is our honor to have this event with friends who are interested in the development of applications and analysis of spatial data, in particular friends of the Department of Urban Planning and Design and the Center of Urban Studies and Urban Planning of Hong Kong University. I would like to thank Professor Anthony Ye, Professor Shen-Chi Ke, Professor Paul Tang, Professor Jimmy Leung, Dr. Kenneth Tan, Dr. Kam-Shing Leung, Mr. Kenneth Wong, and all students who have dedicated your time and effort to all these interesting, innovative, and practical projects. I appreciate that many of you were so dedicated to these, even you were part-time students. I'm sure that the analysis will give us different insights, be it just a small daily life solution or bigger challenge in policy making. Thanks must also be extended to our GeoLab's colleagues and MC Tammy for this wonderful arrangement. with the support from Innovation and Technology Bureau. The Development Bureau is currently driving the Common Spatial Data Infrastructure initiative of the CSDI, aiming to provide convenient, easily accessible, quality, standardized, and up-to-date spatial information and services. We look forward to seeing more applications of spatial data by the community through the current Hong Kong Geodetic Store, which is the alpha version of the CSDI portal, and the coming CSDI portal for public, targeted to be released by the end of this year. Through the sharing of our master students today, I hope you will be enlightened to explore more the spatial data for your own applications. May I encourage you to think spatially in your daily life and projects, within the organization or in a wider community. I wish you can share your spatial data as well, as far as practicable. I do wish you all will enjoy the presentations today, and we will have more chances to exchange ideas in the later part of the event. Thank you very much. I do wish that the event can create 1 + 1 bigger than 2. Thank you.
Thank you, Sir Wei Chen, for his informative opening remarks. Without further ado, may I invite the first group to present their group projects entitled From a Flood Zone to a Water Resilient Town by Ms. Joyce Guo, Mr. Liu Ye, and Mr. Wang Shuji. They will demonstrate how to make use of the AI and GIS to assess the flood susceptibility and develop an integrated approach to control the surface runoff. Group 1, please.
Thank you, Tammy. Good morning, everyone. I'm Joyce, and here who's next to me is Shu Qi, and Ava Liu Ye, who is now in Chongqing, will join us here soon during the presentation. So thank you for joining us on this hot, sunny Saturday morning. In recent years, the weather patterns has kept changing. As you may be aware, it's been raining for almost a month before the middle of this week. Apart from COVID, more and more people also regard climate change and extreme weather events as a new normal. In the coming half an hour, my teammates and I will show you how Hong Kong can plan and prepare better for the intensifying rainfall in the coming decades and century, using Taipo as an example. Here is an overview of our presentation. Before introducing the aims and design of our project, I'll briefly talk about the causes and effects of flooding in Hong Kong. Then my teammate Shu Qi will explain about our methodology, technical procedures, and the results of our baseline assessment. After that, Ava will show you step by step how we can improve the current situation and prepare for the future challenges through a customized design toolkit and a holistic approach of design intervention. Lastly, we will demonstrate how to utilize our guideline and toolkits to assess and improve the rainwater management capability of a selected site in Taipo. Now, let's go on the tour. As we all know, Hong Kong is a coastal city located in southern China. Being a land area of just 1,100 kilometers square, Hong Kong has a phenomenal amount of coastal line. There is a total of 456 coastal lines running around the main area of Hong Kong from one side of the new territories to the other, while the 263 islands in Hong Kong waters between them have another 732 kilometers of coastal line. To accommodate the booming population, the government initiated New Town Development Program in 1973. Before the commencement of the program, most of the land in the new territories are for rural purposes. As shown in gray colors on the maps on the left-hand side, the proportion of built-up areas has significantly increased in the past few decades. To date, around half of our populations in Hong Kong lives in these newly developed areas. So So, continuous urbanization has led to the increasing impervious area of the whole Hong Kong in the past few decades. Many districts have also undergone a significant change of coastal line and landscape because of large scale of land reclamation. You can see that many of the developed areas are in ivory colors on this map, meaning that the land surfaces are impermeable. The lower surface permeability, the higher the urban risk. To investigate the effects of urban flood risk, a few site selection criteria were identified at the initial stage of our study. After rounds of desktop research, we selected Tai Po as our focus area. It is a typical urbanized town with many of the land features that we've just mentioned. Tai Po is one of the 18 districts in Hong Kong. It locates in the New Territory East. As we mainly focus on the floodways of the highly urbanized area, we use the grid of small street boards instead of the district council constituency to identify the boundary of the study sites. Therefore, only the town center are included, and the inland rural counterparts were filtered out this time. Tai Po Town Center is a compact area with a high concentration of all residential buildings and small numbers of commercial buildings. The neighborhood has a high concentration of shophouses, many of which have been converted into small businesses, restaurants, and cafes. The built-up area accounts for 70% of the total local sites. It is concentrated in the center and east of the plot. Non-built-up area is dispersed and is mainly in the southern and northern parts of the plot, occupying 30% of the total study area. As you may be aware, Tai Po was a traditional rural township before being transformed into a new town. It was the home of the fishery and agricultural communities. In 1974, the government decided to establish the first industrial estate in Hong Kong at Tai Po. The two old pictures on the right-hand corners shows the land reclamation sites. A large piece of agricultural land were demolished and rebuilt into a cluster of high-rise residential buildings. Figure 5 and 6 shows that the width of the harbor and the river has significantly reduced due to the land reclamation and urban development. Actually, the town center of Tai Po locates in the downstream region of Lam Tsuen Valley. Whenever there is heavy rainfall, a large amount of water will pass through the river channel in the town center before entering into the Tolo harbor. The pictures at the bottom shows the damage caused by the stormwater and the overflow. A district councillor we've interviewed told us that sometimes when the overflow finally drained away, they will see some dead bodies of the fish on the ceiling of the pedestrian tunnel. So that's so terrible. The continuous urbanization and unique geographical location of Lam Tsuen Valley has made high-density residential area in the town center of Tai Po becoming a flood-prone spot. Apart from urbanization, climate change has also affected the strength and frequency of floods significantly in Hong Kong. According to the forecast by the Hong Kong Observatory, the annual rainfall in Hong Kong will increase by 7 to 10% in the coming 60 to 80 years, compared to the average of the last century, and the intensity of precipitation will keep growing. Among the 18 districts in Hong Kong, Tai Po is actually exceptionally vulnerable to heavy rainfall and storm surge. So, Hong Kong mainly uses fortification as an overall strategy to prevent and mitigate flooding. There are three initiatives. We usually use stormwater interception through extensive drainage tunnel and network at the upstream. And at the midstream, we will use temporary rainwater storage. And at the downstream, the drainage service department tried to improve the river drainage work and so to prevent flooding. In general, the current flood prevention measures in Hong Kong rely heavily on drainage tunnels to discharge stormwater directly into the sea. According to the Drainage Services Department, there are 5 flooding black spots, and 2 of them are in Tai Po. The pictures at the bottom shows that the pedestrian tunnel in Kwang Fok Road, one of the main roles in typhoon, were completely immersed in the rainwater during typhoons. To summarize, climate change and rapid urbanization are the two major causes in Hong Kong that cause flooding. Now we are going to dive deeper into the concept of urban flooding. The diagram on the left is a town with a hard and impermeable urban surface, as there is a lack of permeable elements for runoff control and stormwater collection. Only limited amount of water can be infiltrated and collected, used for reuse or detention. In such a town or city, when the heavy precipitation exceeds the capacity of the drainage system, the rainwater will overflow into the streets, which will eventually become surface runoff and cause a surface water flooding. This diagram depicts 4 destinations of rainfall. When the raindrop fall on the ground, it can either be infiltrated into the soil of a park, or stored in a tank for detention or reuse, or evaporate naturally in the air, or drained into the sea through our extensive drainage system. Overflow and flooding can be prevented if the amounts of rainfall are within the capacity that's only upheld by these 4 elements. Also, theoretically, the flood risk can be lowered by increasing the capacity of infiltration, storage, and drainage system. As such, surface runoff would be delayed and minimized. So here we go to the next part, which is our project brief. Regarding the existing challenge, our team has an aspiration to create a future stage for urban water resilience, where servicing strategies deliver long-term livability, sustainability, and prosperity. Apart from flood prevention and mitigation, we also aspire to reduce ecological impacts and improve the quality of life of the local residents. Therefore, our vision is to create a water resilient and livable typhoon. Therefore, apart from evaluating and enhancing rainwater management ability of typhoon, the project also aims to create a resilient and vibrant river edge and improve the quality of the overall living environment. Based on the study statement and goals, we also studied some overseas cases that are similar to our projects, which lay a foundation of the methodology and approach of our study. The first one is the sponge city concept in China, which is widely and successfully adopted in Wuhan. Sponge city emphasizes the absorbance and reuse of rainwater instead of funneling it away. Taking reference to the Sponge City Construction Guide developed by the Chinese government, the annual runoff control should be set at around 75% in Hong Kong. In general, a well-designed sponge city should be able to reduce flooding, preserve water, clean up rivers, and improve quality of life. And the second case is the Singapore ABC Water Design Program. It detailed displays that how the tools implement the delay runoff function by storm hydrogram. This graph shows that the relationship between the surface runoff control and the level and time of peak discharge. So the main idea of preventing surface runoff is to delay the time of the peak discharge and the magnitude of the amount of water that floating on the ground. As such, apart from the graph, we also take reference to the elements and the toolkits that developed by the Singapore government. So we will take reference to their approach and to try to develop our own toolkits in our project. Based on the review of the overseas case study and the scenario setting and climate forecast conducted by the Hong Kong Observatory, the aim of our project is set to be increase the area of permeable surfaces to 50%, as well as to increase the rainwater storage ability in order to achieve rainwater runoff control to 75%. Besides, We will mainly focus on enhancing the infiltration and storage capacity through different urban design strategies. To assess the rainwater management capacity more holistically, we use 3 different methods of different scale to understand and dissect the study sites. They are built elements, form systems, and urban typology. One system can include various elements. So, for example, if the typology is a park, trees and biocells are the elements in its green system. As each element varies in terms of infiltration rate, we could calculate the rainwater management capacity for each typology by summing up the treatment capacity of each element at the end. So now, Xiuxi will continue to talk about the urban typology reclassification.
Hi, I'm Suqi. And in the analytical framework, each box represents one function. First, the team classify different typology and then identify both systems. Secondly, we map each element in the respective system and develop the design toolbox for each element. Thirdly, access the water management capacity of each element. Firstly, we sum up elements to evaluate each system. Then we get the result of the water management capacity. Combining with both systems to help identify what typology and elements should be included. Finally, we are able to select the related design approach from the design box to different typologies. We divide 12 typologies for better calculation and design. The reason why we don't use the current land visualization is that each kind of land cover and the building has different infiltration rate and related improving masses. For example, the woodland and the grassland should be integrated into one type, and the buildings are classified by their stories. Buildings with more than 12 stories are high-rise building. Less than 6 is low-rise building, and others are mid-rise buildings based on maintenance criteria. To identify different typologies, we utilize the reclassification function of ArcGIS Pro, which will reorganize each pixels of image based on the iterated weight of the input layer. We input the land utilization and building informations, and the results is shown in the slider, getting a segmentation map with 12 typology. As the slide shows, the study area mainly consists of green space 38%, 3/4 of building 26%, and roads 15%. As to the building type, the study area is mainly occupied by high-rise buildings. And there is another method to achieve the identification called AI. One of the AI contains various fields and keep evolving, such as machine learning and deep learning. Here we're going to utilize the deep learning approach. Generally speaking, the process of deep learning is training a model to predict the result using input information. There are many layers of the model, and each of them captures some features from the input image called downsampling, and then we pull these hints back to get an idea of different elements shown on the image called upsampling. Look at the below picture. The model learns from each layer, iterated the process to understand which part of the image is cloud and which part is sparse. It's like teaching a little child to identify things, so-called prediction. And the UNet model is widely used for segmentation. Let's walk through this process together. First, prepare the related image and labels. Here, the labels is those images that remarks with different typologies, helping us to train the model. To input those tiles to the UNet model goes through the downsampling and upsampling. Usually, a segmentation map is prediction segmentation map mask is developed and trained. It can be widely used to Hong Kong. The prediction accuracy is not high as we expect, mainly due to the high density of Hong Kong and limited input information. But you can see that training and validation loss keeps decreasing, which means the model is still learning and needs more information. Those limitations can be solved in the future, and the solution is listed in the slider. In this section, we will introduce the process of the baseline assessment. We use ArcGIS goal to build a model of flooding risk assessment and ensure that the rainfall is the same across the whole study area. The input data consists of three factors, which are slope, hydrology, and land cover. We calculate the slope based on the digital animation model and distance to stream, then reclassify them. Together with the land cover, the next step is overlanding into a layer. Generally speaking, the gentler the slope, the closer to the stream, and the flatter the ground bring the higher risk of flooding. The reason of flooding is shown. In the study area, about 21% have high risk, mainly concentrated in the three places, Chun River and Taipo River. Polo Harbor, these places are more likely to be flooded, and this provides a basis for the following analysis. We also reclassified the land utilization map to access impermeable surface. We classify the land of agriculture, woodland, and water bodies as permeable surface, and the other categories as impermeable, such as industrial land. A low percentage of permeable surface may have an impact on drainage, presenting the risk of flooding. It can be seen that the existing permeable range of our study area is around 30%, relatively low. That's why we want to improve the water resilient ability. There are three parts of accessing water management capacity for Taipo, starting from identify desired return period, then calculating the rainfall, finally getting the runoff coefficient. The probability that events will happen, such as flood, is often explained as the return period. For example, the return period of flood might be 100 years, representing its probability is 1% in any 1 year. According to the recommendation from Drainage Service System, runoff return period of 20 years is used for urban area design, and for further analysis and calculation, we take the data from N09 green gauges. The recommended IDF relationship is the best fit model for different run-store duration on average, and also adopted by HKO. To be specific, the intensity of every distributed runoff is determined by the IDF relationship, and GEO provide reasonable constant for different green gauge. Calculated with the IDF equation, the extreme intensity for 20 years return period in 30 minutes is 135.2 millimeter an hour, therefore, which is 135.2 runoff intensity as our design profile for Taipo. The runoff means the water flow on the catchment surface, including direct runoff and base flow, and runoff coefficient is the area of the surface runoff to rainfall, which is dependent on the land use and ground gradient. In this project, we use regional method to estimate current surface runoff. The second part is to investigate people's perception of flooding issues in Taipo. Over 2/3 of the respondents think that the flooding problem in Taipo is intensified. Road and transportation is the most effective type of land use, followed by public open space. Many people explain that they're concerned over road safety and worries about the traffic problems. When asked people which flood mitigation stage to prefer most, many of them think fortification is a priority, followed by adaptation and retreat. We also asked about their priorities in water management. Many people vote on removal of sewage and garbage from the river and encourage conservation. This reflects that people are quite concerned about rainwater quality and living environment in the neighborhood. To validate people's exception to water flood prevention and water resources management, we conduct several in-depth interviews with many stakeholders and professors in Opera, including planner from the government, engineering, ecologist, and district consultant. In summary, water quality is always the prerequisite of the building water-friendly culture. Only when water hygiene is skilled, people will like to approaching and play around the water bodies. In stage 2, we put through a weekly schedule for different types of water activities. For example, having regular ferry service between Taipei and Mongshan on weekdays and a flooding bucket on weekends. Besides, an alert system should be set up to aggregate cloud from septic parks when heavy rains comes. Stage 3 is about long-term practice and to promote and maintain a water-friendly and resilient culture. Then my teammate Eva will introduce the design intervention.
For design interventions, the natural permeable surface condition has a segmented pattern in typo. Therefore, it's important to identify different design constraints and what we should be working towards with water management strategy. So as different district of typo has different combinations of urban typology, the team established a regional specific integrated strategy to water management that considers the complexity of different site contexts. Therefore, the first step of design framework is rezoning the site to address a different water condition specific to each zone, then identifying 4 systems of design site to provide a vision for each of the systems and better understanding of where we can add the interventions. The purpose of the strategy is to utilize natural treatments and develop a design toolbox to tackle water issues from the 6 functions. Lastly, adopting the integrated approach to treating rainwater runoff coefficient. Based on the 12 typology analyzed, 4 zones was identified. Conservation zones, which mainly includes natural net cover. Transition zone consists of more rural settlement. Sponge urban zone here is that the percentage of high-rise building plus industry plus road is over 50. Coastal zone means within 1 kilometer of the coast. To conduct a toolbox, we connect different tools from engineer researchers and some other references and assign the elements to corresponding systems. Each element is identified with several functions and rainwater runoff coefficient. As a design guide, we also formulated a typical strategy for the 4-zone design recommendation. We consider the key of the conservation zone is store, filter, and delay. Dense vegetation can be employed along the stream to slow down rainwater, and the water pump can be used to store water. The section view demonstrated how we formulate a design in a typical conservation zone. Detention in high-level area, infiltration in the upper stream, and reuse water for agriculture. For transition zone, besides delay and store, as it has rural settlement, how to help residents and building adapt with water is important. In this typical section, we add a rain garden along the road and a water tank to store the water. As the impermeable surface ratio in sponge urban zone is high, so the runoff goes into drains and straight into canals. The water level in this zone can rise very high very quickly. Therefore, the key design strategy is to emphasize water control on infiltration and adapt with water. So as you can see from this section, the team designed a floodable park to store excessive rainwater, propose water-friendly river edge to vibrant the community. Besides, the sidewalk paving should be also converted into a permeable paving. Coastal zone has a very unique role in typo, as it must confront with the issue of sea level rise, improving resilience along the coast. The zone can be a natural buffer for typo, introducing a series of natural and built coastal buffers like mangroves would further diversify existing ecology and also help mitigate against the impact of climate change. Also, education and tourism function can be added in this this zone to raise the public awareness of water resilience. In this section view, the left side is a water transition hub and open to a center. The right water edge is a revegetated and an artificial swept dune is proposed to decrease the coastal line erosion. Here are 4 corresponding design principles for the 4 types of systems. Then based on the typical sponge urban zone strategy, we select the design elements from the toolbox. For green system, we utilize ground cover vegetation to increase infiltration rate and create 2 ecological belts. In terms of road system, we propose to enhance the street penetration with tree trench and bio-retention. The blue system utilizes the existing evaluation to drain stormwater into river, then enhancing the stormwater connection capacity of the building system by adding water tank and green roof. As our project not only wants to propose a design guideline for type hole, we also want to conduct a general toolkit which consists of all basic tools with rainwater management capacity index. So this workflow will illustrate how a design company or government department can use it. Firstly, a user can use UNITE model or ArcGIS classified model to convert the satellite image to a typology map. Then they can identify the site belongs to which zone. Then according to the typical zone strategies, they can select the recommended design tools. If they have some other specific requirements, they can add other design tools. So with the design tool and the design strategy, the design company or government department can formulate their own design. With the index from the toolbox, they can multiply the number of areas. Eventually, they are able to get a before and after permeable surface map and a runoff coefficient ratio table. So next, I will demonstrate how to utilize our guideline and toolkit to assess and improve the rainwater management capacity of a selected site in type hole. This selected site is near Kung Fu Bridge. On both sides of the riverbank of Nanchun River with an area of 0.28 square meters, a heavily flooded and densely populated area. So the first step is identify the typology and the zone type. The area is, so as you can see, this area is a typical sponge urban zone. In terms of typology percentage, the highest area proportion is road and high-rise building, which is about 35% and 33% respectively. Based on the sponge urban strategy, we add floodable park in the existing type hole market playground to detain rainwater flow and reduce flood risk. Market on this plan as the number 1 areas and we also propose rejuvenate riverbank of Nanchun River with a bioswale to delay floods, which could improve water quality and preserve the local ecosystems. For street system, adding the rain garden along the road and pavement, which could absorb and infiltrate with rainwater as well as increase the air humidity. After applying those design approaches, not only could increase the infiltration rate in type hole, but also could link the landscape zones to create an outdoor environment close to nature. So transform type hole from a flooding prone to a water resilient town. We select 3 sections for detailed demonstration. The first one is a rain garden with content. As you can see, the first one is a rain garden, which contains the tree trench and bio-retention, assessing the stormwater infiltration. The second one is a riverside market. We propose to redesign the crucial river-friendly infrastructure nearby the river. People could organize some weekend market activities there, evoking the water culture of Taipo. The last one design is the existing Taipo market playground is a flooding park, lowers the terrain to connect water in flooding season, and while in normal seasons, it could be a sunken park to play in. After redesign the selected site, the permeable surface rate increased significantly from 19% to 50%, achieving the 50% permeable target, as we said before. And also, the total runoff coefficient would be between 0.75 and 0.67. The concrete evaluation is shown in this table. So as you can see, we got a before and after map and also a coefficient table. Next. Our project makes unique contribution in two aspects. First, our project promotes specific goals on water management capacity. Second, our project designed an effective water management toolbox which can be applied to other areas in Hong Kong. And for the limitations, there are three major limitations. Firstly, is the limitation of the U-line model area unlisted. Second, to better reflect the flood movement, the hydrodynamic modeling is also required. For way forward, in order to realize urban resilience, several aspects should be enhanced. First, the government should experience and assess the actual infiltration capacity of different elements and tools. Second, the sea level and astronomical tide factors should also be taken into account in the hydronic modeling of flooding. And third, a holistic approach should be adopted in monitoring and improvement of water quality. For both of the government and corporates should assess the climate risk and review its flooding mitigation strategy regularly. Lastly, a close but smooth communication and coordination are always the key of realizing the water management capacity resilience. So that's all our presentation. Thank you for your listening.
Thank you very much, Group 1. Q&A section is arranged after all the presentations. You're welcome to raise questions during the Q&A session. Let's move on to invite the second group to present their project on urban vibrancy and green space assessment in Mong Kok by Mr. Liu Chiu-Mao, Mr. Isaac Ng, and Mr. Tiger Hui. They will demonstrate how a data-driven approach to put forward the assessment and recommend the mitigations of existing problems in Hong Kong. Group 2, please.
Can you hear my voice on Zoom? So let's begin. So I'm Isaac, and he is my groupmates, Elliot and Tiger. So today our presentation is about urban vibrancy. So have you ever thought about using AI or machine learning in contribute to the built environment or even contribute to the urban planning? So today we are going to introduce about the urban vibrancy assessment and also the green space assessment. So here is the flow of our presentation. So this is our presentation will mainly focus on the methodology and the result of our assessment. Introduction. So when we're talking about urban vibrancy, we first link up with some terms like economic activities and people. So to comprehensively demonstrate how can we adopt the urban vibrancy assessment and green space assessment. So we have chosen Mong Kok as our study area, and we have referenced the Mong Kok OZP as our study boundary. So for the basic information of Mong Kok, as we all know, it's a very high dense area, and it's a very a famous shopping destination and tourism destination in Hong Kong. Moreover, Mong Kok has earned its urban thriving's high reputation on its urban vibrancy, and it is a very key, important role to develop the Hong Kong economy and tourism. So, in our studies, we have 3 goals. The first one is to adopt the data-driven approach in urban planning or urban studies. The second is to enlarge the public participation. What is named as the public participation and people first. And the last goal is to try to maximize or optimize the urban vibrancy level in Hong Kong. Here is the entire study framework of our studies. So let's take a look at the yellow box. We have this shows what data we have collected and the method we use. So we then do this what we got and then do the public engagement section, demand analysis, urban vibrancy assessment, and also the green space assessment to identify the urban issue in Hong Kong. And then we further propose more recommendations, planning schemes in order to address the identified urban issue in Hong Kong. So for the data and method session. So for the data, data such as building data, census data, zoning data, or even survey data are the commonly used planning data in urban planning. So our group tried to use more types of data. For example, using the Google Street Views, Instagram social media data, and also the pedestrian flow rate. So moreover, we have including more types of POI data in our research. Let's take Google Street Views image as an example. So we have set a lot of sampling point in every 20 meters along the road network in Hong Kong. So in each sampling point, we take the Google Street Views, and then in total, there are 2,000 of Google Street Views we have collected and do the further analysis. So after the data is method, so the first method we use is the GIS analysis. So mainly we use the ArcGIS to do our data visualization and data analysis. Moreover, we have for the data, we have a lot of data, and then we summarize them into the hexagonal grid maps in order to do the calculation or further analysis. So we have created a servo bivariate map. So what can the bivariate map means is to find the correlation or the relationship between the different indicators of urban vibrancy. Moreover, we also use the model builder tool to do the site selection. So for the site selection, it mainly used in the recommendation stage. The second method we have used is the LDA. So LDA is a type of topic modeling method. So here is this slide showing the easiest way we understand the LDA. So LDA is in a set of documents, it can cluster them into several topics, like in the slide showing on the left-hand side. So there's 4 topics. And on the right-hand side, we can see a bar chart. So it shows how different topics contribute to that set of documents. And we will adopt this technique in our survey research, survey result. Yeah. And we have also used the 2-step flowing catchment area to identify the accessibility of the open space. Basically, this is calculating the accessibility of to all the Mong Kok residents based on the distance. So in this calculation, the demand side is the total population of the Mong Kok residents, and the supply is the open space surrounding or next to the boundary of our study area. So when we do the calculation going through the Gaussian decay function, so we can adopt the accessibilities and compare those accessibility in each grid to do the further analysis. And we also include this semantic segmentation, which is to find the sky index and also the green field index in each Google Street View. So we use the pre-trained model by the MIT. This can help us to gather the proportion of the sky views of each Google Street Views and also the green components in Google Street Views. We also use a technique similar to semantic segmentation, is the object detection. So for the image, we can use the pre-trained model, faster RCNN to scan the layer of people, so we can identify how many people are in each Google Street Views. Moreover, for the videos one, so we also use that kind of technique to do the people counting among the streets, the targeting street among Mongkok. And the public engagement session, so Mongkok is very large and it includes a lot of stakeholders, and we have choose 5 relatively important stakeholders in our research. So, for example, Mongkok residents or business operators or some district council members. So, as shown in the figure, we have two rounds of public engagement session. So, we have done the online interview or the online survey. So, in total, 100 survey effective responses have been received and 2 in-depth interview has been done. So take a look at the result of our survey demand analysis. So this is very interesting to see that different stakeholders define urban vibrancy in different ways. So we can see, the visitors or business operators treasure more on the people, shopping, tourists. While the Mongkok residents treasure more on facilities. You can see in the red cloud, you can see shoppings and park, or even the transportation. They treasure the transportational or recreational facilities. And it is correlated to these suggestions they make. You can see on the right-hand side, the red cloud, you can see road, street, pedestrian, improvement, park, stores, and so on. So it is very important for us. And we have, as mentioned, the LDA model, the topic modeling map model. So the LDA help us to classify the positive side and negative side key issues in Mongkok based on the LDA topic modeling method. So take a look on the blue tables, the left-hand side table. You can see, in the survey, the responses like Mongkok because of the based on the shopping and the dining, the cheap things, and its high accessibilities. But we also identify several problems in Mongkok, for example, the traffic congestion, the pedestrian network, and also the limited car parking space. But in order to not get in close with the stakeholders, we have engaged the public and also do in-depth interview with a town planner and our district council members. So they both agree that it's very difficult to maintain change the land in Mongkok or maintain its urban vibrancy based on several reasons. For example, maybe complex flat ownership or the appearance of tunnel. But they urge us to consider all stakeholders' opinions and also to be more down to earth, which means that we need to listen more and consider more. So this is very important to make our plan to be more flexible and practical. The green space assessment. So the first things that we have identified in the green space assessment is the open space land use. So according to the OZP zoning of the Mongkok, we can see that actually the land use proportion to the open space is only account for around 6%, which is not that high. So, and the second problem is echoing one of the research done by the Civic exchange that saying that the Hong Kong average open space per capita should be around 2.7 something, but you can see actually the ratio in Mongkok is far less behind the average, 0.65 currently. So this is one of the problems that we have identified. And moreover, for the accessibilities, as mentioned in the method session, we have used the 2-step flowing catchment area method. And based on the result, we can see that actually in the central area of Mongkok is a right color. So this is one of the problems that we have identified. So using the semantic segmentation or analyze the Google Street Views, so we find 2 problems: the street views, street level greenery, and according to the figure on the left, we can see it's quite good. There are lots of appearance of green features in the Mongkok East, but barely can find in Nathan Road or the central part of the Mong Kok. The same problem identifying the sky field index, we can see in the central regions of the sky fields, in the central regions, is less than other region in Mong Kok. So these are the two problems that we've identified. So in a small conclusion on the open space assessment or green space assessment, right? The first is the lack of open space. Second is the insufficient open school base per capita and the poor accessibility, but with also the sky field greenery and the sky field problem.
Thank you, Isaac. For these sections, three different analyses will be adopted to further illustrate the urban vibrancy assessment. The aim of adopting the reassembling Mong Kok's 3 Instagrams is to understand the popularity of the shops through the number of followers, posts, and likes by leveraging the information stream. The team had geotagged on the map to identify the potential areas with high potential in terms of vibrancy as observed in the slides. And last, spatial clustering analysis will be performed. Next, the team also conducted a preliminary economic activity analysis by looking at the spatial distribution pattern of the point of interest, and 3 main categories of economic sectors has been identified: restaurants, shopping malls, and nightlife. Furthermore, by looking at the density maps, spatial clustering patterns can be observed. For the shopping sectors, there are 2 areas with high density distributions of malls or stores, while for the nightlife, it's mainly located at the Tong Chai streets, which right besides the Mong Kok police stations. In order to further reduce the study areas, the Google Street View image has been adopted, and the functionality it will be only as the initial screening process to identify the areas people are less likely visited. It should identify the number of people and vehicles. The group acknowledged that using the GSV to evaluate the pedestrian flows might not be a good representation of the actual situations. Therefore, it will only contribute to a small percentage in our identifying stage, while a precise techniques will be demonstrated in the subsequent slides. With the help of image recognitions, the team has performed the video recognition techniques on the identified streets with deployed framing locations in order to gain a better understanding of the pedestrian flows. The video on the left is the final outcome of the pedestrian detection model. In addition, the parameter setting for the video footage has been identified as 15 minutes intervals to retrieve footage per identified streets, and it must be during the peak hours. After complete all the videos processing, the team have leveraged on the same set of assessment criteria which defined the areas for the Sai Streets projects. And in the assessment, it has classified the pedestrian flows into 6 categories, and for each category has attached with a level of service. The table on the left is the sample size extracted for these presentations. And based on the results, we can see that most of the popular streets, such as Sai Choi Streets, Sai Streets, and Pioneer Streets, are classified with high level of service. When we make use of 3 aspects, including the popularities, Google Maps POIs, and pedestrian flows, and level of service to conduct further analysis in order to draw more insights evaluations towards the urban vibrancy via overlapping maps. First, we overlay with the POIs with the Instagram popularities. Then we get the vibrancy maps results as shown in the right figure. As the results, we can see that Mong Kok has the relatively high popularities with more POIs, which are more dynamic areas. While for the POIs in Tai Kau areas and Princess Edwards West are not very attractive. Then we overlay with the obtained the urban vibrancy map with the pedestrian flows. We can find that the central areas of Mong Kok has too much vibrancy as overcrowded pedestrian flows, insufficient route service level around Mong Kok markets. There's a problem of overcrowded pedestrian flows, although the popularity is not high, which is mainly due to the deviations between the social media data and the real situations. While for the vibrancy and the pedestrian flow in the Tai Kau and the Princess Edward West are relatively low. Based on the results of above analysis, we believe that the main problem for Mong Kok is excessive urban vibrancy, which causes congestions and low route service capacities. It also leads to the problem of open space shortage. In addition, the result of low popularity in Tai Kau areas and the Princess Edward West is because of 2 places are mainly residential areas. The shop here mainly serve the local residents and do not need to attract many visitors. Therefore, many problems we need to solve is still over vibrancy of Mong Kok. planning vision, and goal. Based on the key findings, we put forward our visions to regenerate Mong Kok into a vibrant community with high quality walkability and open space accessibility. In addition, to achieve these visions, the following goals are proposed. First, to mitigate the imbalance between the built environment and the urban vibrancy developments. Second, to enhance the pedestrian walkability to ensure quality of working environment. Last but not least, to increase our open space and to enhance the connectivity and accessibility of the open space. Option formulations. Option A is to relieve the excessive urban vibrancy to less vibrant areas, Taikoo and Princess West. Option B is to improve the spatial connectivity to mitigate the urban issues caused by excessive urban vibrancy in Mong Kok. In option A, the pedestrian corridors are proposed to relieve the pedestrian flows to Taikoo and Princess Edwards to solve the overcrowded issues. The slide shows the existing and planned pedestrian networks. As we can see, most of the existing planned routes are located in the center of Mong Kok. Based on our urban vibrancy analysis results, walkability connections between Mong Kok and Taikoo and Princess Edwards should be improved. Therefore, based on the pedestrian flow and urban vibrancy analysis, some streets with more POIs and high pedestrian flows are proposed to convert into a pedestrian corridor. And the results shown in the right-hand side. Total 3 pedestrian corridors, 2 revitalization of sidewalks are proposed in this section. With numerous unique pubs and restaurants such as Chapter Trees, China Tree, Papa's Oil and restaurants, Princess Edward West is often considered as a great spot to signature events such as wine tasting sections, bar and music festivals, and cycling events with festival teams could be planned in order to attract more visitors. Taikoo Street is a cruising destination for foodies. In order to enhance the attractiveness of Taikoo Street of food festivals or garment vouchers,
我一句都聽唔到你講嘢㗎，你唔好同我講嘢，你完全聽到你講嘢。
In order to address the overcrowded issues, we propose the further pedestrian scheme in the central area in order to improve the capacities of urban routes for vibrancy. Based on the pedestrian flows and level of service through analysis, we select some streets with high pedestrian flows with low level of service to be converted into part-time pedestrian streets and traffic calming streets. The result is shown on the right-hand side. Nelson Streets and Camden Streets, taken place by Mong Kok markets, are proposed to convert into part-time pedestrian streets, and part of Poland Streets are proposed to convert into a traffic calming streets. Moreover, in order to address the lack of street greenery in the central areas, a set of working environment improvement projects are proposed in option B. Streets with high pedestrian flows and low value of green view index, such as Nathan Streets, Albert Streets, are proposed to improve in these projects. The second strategy in option B is open space strategy, aiming to solve the shortage of green space. The figure on the right shows the existing and planned open space systems. As we can see that parks and greenery corridors are mainly located in the Taikoo and Mong Kok East, and the open space is still insufficient in the central areas. Therefore, further open space strategies need to propose as a supplement. Therefore, based on the street level greenery and accessibility of open space analysis, some street level greeneries, enhancement projects, and potential open space are proposed in this section. After 2 initial development options proposed, the option assessments are proposed to evaluate the main ideas, implementation effects, financial implementation effects of 2 options. The advantage of 2 options are highlighted with blue box. In order to formulate more comprehensive schemes, all positive aspects of 2 options needed to be considered. Therefore, the recommendation development scheme is to combine option A and option B. Then the recommendation development schemes are formulated. The main objectives are proposed, including 1 climbing streets, 2 part-time pedestrian streets, 2 revitalization of sidewalks, 3 pedestrian corridors, and multiple potential open space and street level greenery enhanced projects.
In the following section, I will talk about our recommendation of the project. Based on the findings and comments gathered from our initial phases, the proposal has been formulated into our master layout plan and the following parts are the design concept and the key features of the proposal strategy. And there are two main recommendations in our proposal to achieve the planning vision, including the walkable pedestrian street and open space strategy. For the walkable pedestrian street design, there are three recommended approaches. First, to improve the working environment by installing green infrastructure to boost the total green field index. Second, to propose a comprehensive pedestrian corridor to relieve crowding and improving the walking experience. Third, to further recommendation on pedestrian scheme, including part-time pedestrian street and traffic calming street. Whenever feasible, green infrastructure should be planned to be improved the walking environment, such as redesigning walkouts and turning them into side lanes. Streets should be allowed for resting and people watching on public benches, such as walkouts, planters with seating to improve the barrier use of different users. Pedestrian corridor and sidewalk revitalization were offered into two approaches. The pedestrian corridor are designed to make effective use of main roads or other level of routes with appropriate space. The goal is to improve pedestrian walking experience through roadway infrastructure and green components. The design will have strip tree, flower gardens, and relaxing seating along the street. Even vertical green infrastructure will be permitted with certain standard formats. The potential location have been identified in the map for improvement of pedestrian corridor. Major greenery furniture has been added to the existing environment. The scope of work including railing greenery, vertical greenery, and even installing a special LED screen on the building facade after the official authorities have granted permission. On the other hand, minor implementation has been carried out on the indicated sites shown in the map, mainly come from residential streets. As illustrated in the slide, the scope of work including repaving, pavement widening, and feature railing with more flooring. A pedestrian plan was created to improve the walking experience even further. Nathan Street and Canton Road, nearby the current Mongkok Wet Market, are suggested to be part-time pedestrian street with operation hour from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. with a well-organized management control mechanism and the ability to capture even peak hours. Near the intersection of Nehru Place and Mongkok Station, a climbing street was planned. Due to extremely high pedestrian traffic and heavy vehicular traffic, the network may be overwhelmed. As a result, it is recommended to put it into a new climbing street with a reallocation of taxi stand to the Shanghai Street nearby. For the open space strategy, there are two main initiatives to address the poor accessibility in central area in Mongkok, including redesign some underutilized open spaces and encourage public open space in private development. In terms of redesigning underutilized open spaces, we propose to improving the existing open space in MTR station exits and pedestrian passage exits. Some conceptual design are shown in the slide. In addition, it proposed to propose overpass bottom plantation and narrow parks for the Mongkok further development. In order to identify the potential open space in private development, area in commercial, residential, and other utility zoning with the development ratio more than 1.5 are selected as the potential areas. Then we step further to select building older than 50 years and the area where the accessibility index is below 1. The figure on the right shows the outcome of our model, several potential area for redevelopment shown in the figure. In addition, we propose to encourage the private developer to provide around 5% public open space. In this potential site, multi-level open space in private development is recommended, and mainly including podium garden, green roof garden, and vertical greening. In the commenting section, I will talk about our after plan evaluation. For the traffic impact assessment, we interview with street shoppers on this road in order to understand the number of vehicles passing through these streets, and a site survey to evaluate the feasibility of the suggestion. The feasible suggestion shown on the right-hand side figure, which turning Canton Road and Nelson Street into a part-time pedestrian streets. For the walking environment assessment, the left-hand side photo on
the original street view of 45 Tissue Street and Nathan Road. The middle figure shows the illustration before adopting the greenery improvement, and the right-hand side figure shows the after, where the percentage increase of greenery coverage. For the open space strategy, an after-plan assessment was provided to evaluate the improvement after the implementation of the recommendation. First, with the additional open space implementation, the average open space per Hong Kong resident is expected to reach 1.28 square meters, which is nearly a twofold increase than before. Besides, a significant improvement on the accessibility of open space can be observed, especially in the central area of Hong Kong. In this section, I will talk about our conclusion and a way forward. In short, this project is a local plan focused in Mong Kok district, and it aims to achieve public participation and build a better living environment. It helps to improve the urban privacy and green space development in urban area. It is a data-driven approach which uses multi-source data set and to achieve the urban privacy and green space assessment. It suggests two main directions in the proposal, including the walkable pedestrian street and open street network. As a way forward, it is noted that incorporation and collaboration are important to improve the built environment by satisfying the needs of different public interests and supporting the Mong Kok long-term development. There is a great potential to make use of technology to recognize the potential improvement area and demand patterns in the urban built environment by data-driven approach. Stakeholder engagement is encouraged as early as possible to connect with different parties to formulate proposal short and long-term growth. At this point, I would like to conclude our speech. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Group 2. May I then invite Group 3 to present their projects on re-envisioning new recreational opportunities. How can we shape a better Hong Kong with sustainable camping? By Mr. Alan Zhang, Ms. Jenny Lee, and Ms. Sophie Zhang. The study will demonstrate how to preserve the biodiversity on one hand and achieve sustainable camping on the other hand using new technologies. Group 3, please.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Alan, and next to me is Sophie and Jenny. Right, so it's our team's honor to be invited here to present our project under the MUA program. So our topic is, as Penny mentioned, we envisioning new recreational opportunity. How can we share a better Hong Kong with sustainable camping? So in comments sharing, we hope to deliver with an alternative experience on camping in Hong Kong. So let's begin by this video.
Ladies and gentlemen, we will be arriving in Tap Moon in around 1 minute's time. We are now passing Hoi Ha 1 Marine Park and approaching Sai Kung. Please remain seated until the flight has stopped completely. The weather today is pleasant, with minimal cloud and a light breeze. We hope you enjoy your stay, experience the wonders of camping in Tap Moon. Thank you very much.
So let's continue our camping experience. Our journey today, we include a short introduction with project goals and objectives, followed by case studies for both local and international ones, with stakeholder engagement and extensive site suitability analysis. We will come up a list of recommendations with evaluation. Okay, so triggered by the pandemic, overseas vacation becomes very, very luxurious. So also vacation as a part of our daily life, emerge for indoor and outdoor environments. Campsite becomes one of the popular spots during the pandemic period. Apart from the dedicated campsite in Hong Kong, run by the government and different organizations, we can see the signs of illegal camping at country parks and some remote open spaces, such as this, Dongzhao and Tap Moon. In particular for Tap Moon, which also named as Grass Island because of its green and gorgeous scenery, but however, the deforestation owing to the uncontrolled human activities, such as hiking and camping, threatens the inhabitants of Grass Island, that's the cattle, the cow. Invasion of human beings will cause the biodiversity loss, which in turn damage the entire ecosystem. Such a co-living mode may also pose another threat to the campers, such as attack from the cattle. So this Grass Island is probably considered to be renamed if this situation continues to go back. So other than the local demand, we can see there's a potential growth from the tourists under the development blueprint published by the Tourism Commission. So according to Visitor Profile 2019 from the Hong Kong Tourism Board, there are over 1 million overnight visitors interested in our green treasures. So if 10% of them will be interested in ecotourism, we estimate there would be 100,000 overnight visitors with 55 million expected spending per year. So it's possible to attract more tourists in the future with more promotional activities. So here come to our project goals and objectives. So in view of the above challenges and opportunities, we set our project goals to first promote green and sustainable tourism and a healthy lifestyle, and preserve and appreciate biodiversity in the course of promoting tourism. And also the last one, achieve a sustainable camping. But in short, we really wish to develop a camping culture, camping but not tampering, that is without interfering and damaging the environment. So here are our objectives. Other than the standard parts, we also present views from different stakeholders, potential sites recommended for different camping styles, lesson learned from the international cases, a sustainable campsite design in Tap Moon, we just see, with the sustainable impact variables, SIV. And finally, our recommendation in short, medium, and long term. So we have been looking into a number of local and international cases in the application of permission, assessment standards, and review mechanism in the entire planning process. So in the foreign parts, I'm going to introduce 10 major issues that identified from our studies and engagement as highlighted in this part, in the label text. This will be addressed by our recommendation in the later part. Because this is the first local case, it's about a glamping ground, glamorous camping in Pulau, in Lantau Island, which is under CPA zone. The planning application under Section 16 was first rejected by the Planning Board, and the appeal for review under Section 17. The appeal was finally approved as the proposal is in line with overall planning intention for South Lantau under the Sustainable Lantau Blueprint, which overruled the decision made by Section 16 application. We also conducted a site visit to one of the private campsites managed by ASCB. It provides more space for the recreational unit and also promotes environmental friendly design. We were told that a new booking system for online reservation will be developed to control the number of campers and activities. So in terms of international examples, Michigan established a practicing code for constructing, modifying, licensing, and operating a campground. These kind of technical requirements cover the entire standards of accommodation, facilities, amenities, sanitation, etc. Other states also apply their own standards for licensing and operating campgrounds. New Zealand government, on the other hand, has developed a mechanism for registration, licensing, and control of campground at the legislation level. The regulation covers the minimum standards of different aspects. So to meet the seasonal needs for outdoor recreation activities, New Zealand, US, UK government, they grant a short-term temporary license for operating campground upon satisfaction of core licensing requirements. So the exemption as well. Exemption will also be given to the operators for undue hardship, which requires significant efforts and expenses, that's money, because of full implementation of the standards. So given that the health and safety requirements are taken into consideration. And this is another one-stop reservation portal, recreation.gov, for all the campsites across the entire US. Details of campsite, including availability, restriction of use, other facilities, user feedbacks are available. It's easy to use, just some clicks. You can reserve a campsite in any of your recreational trips. So to obtain views from stakeholders, we distribute questionnaire through several social media platforms. We also carry out stakeholder interview with 14 different parties, ranging from government, NGOs, and private sectors and concerned groups. And in total, we obtained 370 responses, and over 80% of those they have camping experience. That's quite relevant to our studies. So most respondents they consider scenery as the most important factors in choosing a campsite. The second factor is facilities and then its accessibility. For the rating on campsite facilities, fresh water is having the highest rating, followed by toilet and mobile signal. Also, we did the sentiment analysis, that's the natural language processing, also carry out in entire questionnaire results. It's a questionnaire. We collect both English and Chinese reading responses. We translated the Chinese responses into English and obtained the most frequent words in Python, the programming language. So here's the result. Most respondents experience noise and overcrowded issue during camping. So regarding the general suggestion on campsite, the top 3 words are all related to the environment. Most responses show that the education is important to reduce environmental pollution due to camping. And most respondents suggest Cyclone, in particular Wanzai, but not the one in Hong Kong Island, but the one in Northwest Cyclone, as their favorite campsite. Also, Ta Mun is the 3rd popular campsite location. So for the stakeholder interviews, we interview Country Conservation Office, CCO, under EPD with Professor Tan and Kevin Lee. There's also officer from AFCD and representatives from 4 NGOs. Also, 4 private campsite operators and other concerned groups, including a foundation fund, Green Group, and village representatives. We have concluded some of the major feedbacks from them. So firstly, many stakeholders pointed out there's no clear definition of campsite in Hong Kong. Almost all interviewers, they agree that currently there's no policy support for campsite development, no ordinance, no regulation. They also complain about difficulties in applying public campsite, public license to run a campsite. The Office of Licensing Authority, OLA, is responsible for processing license application for hotels and guest house, but not campsite. There are also no technical requirement for campsite at this moment. No guidelines for both campsite operators and campers. One of the NGOs we interviewed, they wanted a campsite in Marchorong. It took about 10 years for them to start up the campsite. So then the application of different departments, one by one, and the time needed for government processes is incredibly long. The interviewer also pointed out there's no central platform for the public to identify official campsites and perform booking. Campsite operators and greenfields always have opinions in opposite directions. So there's one application received over 3,000 objections in setting up the campsite, that one in Boyle, usually from the green groups. Some said that the green groups are overreacted from the environmental protection perspective, but no party serves as the role for coordination and mediation. So apart from the technical difficulties, the cost of the initial startup and maintenance of campsite facility will be very, very high, especially in rural areas. They spend very much on the lawn maintenance, pest control, trash removal, sanitary system, and safety measures. So also for hiring overnight staff and high land rents, particularly for private operators. So the interview, we're also concerned about the lack of attractive themes and tourist spots associated with the campsite. Most of the campsite have low connection to the local cultural and ecological value. CCO emphasized very much on the importance of balancing human activities and maintaining biodiversity. But unfortunately, some campuses are lacking the mindset to treasure our natural ecological environment. So I'll pass to you, Sophia.
Thank you, Alan. So now we are going to share the details of the site suitability analysis to find the potential campsite. The methodology is first defining the problem, followed by the identifying the criteria. For the level 1A and 1B criteria, LISA A and LIDA DTM data were used to generate the raster input data set. Different GIS approaches were adopted as shown in the pink box. With the weighting obtained from HP analysis, weight overlay analysis, and the focal statistics analysis were applied. Level 1 site suitability map showed campsite with 5 ranks. I will further discuss the spatial analysis and the zonal statistics for the level 1 map. To further consider the non-natural factor into our analysis, we apply a set of level 2 criteria with similar approach on top of level 1 site suitability analysis result. We further separate the map into tent camping or glamping and a car camping using the different criteria and weighting. Lastly, unsuitable campsite locations with unfavorable land use will be removed. For the level 1 criteria, we have further divided into 2 levels. Level 1A criteria is simply derived and calculated from the raw data set. Level 1B criteria is processed data from the level 1A data, including safety-related criteria, such as the fire risk and the landslide risk. Here are all level 1A and 1B map generated using different GIS approach, including the raster analysis, applying the Euclidean distance and reclassifications. By seeking the expert panel opinions, weighting were computed according to the HP analysis for each criteria. The heat map shows the safety-related criteria has the highest weighting. This result also aligned with the literature review. Here is a level 1 site suitability map. The map is modified by the focal statistics so that the cells will become more compact and continuous. The map is ranked into 5 levels, from very low to very high. A very high suitable campsite will be included as a level 5 campsite in our study. Based on the result of the level 1 site suitability map, we can see that the Aberdeen Country Park, located in the Hong Kong Islands, is in the highest suitability rate of building a campsite. However, there's still no government campsite in Aberdeen Country Park yet. Therefore, the analysis result here can allow us to see if there is any room for establishing some new AFCD campsite within the Aberdeen Country Park in Hong Kong. Over half of the AFCD campsites are ranked level 3 or above in our suitability map. In general, the suitability rate of the AFCD campsite is quite high. But when we compare with that with the NGO and private campsite, it is found that the overall proportions of the private and NGO campsite that level 4 or above is higher than that of the AFCD campsite. You can also see that there is a cluster of a level 4 to 5 private campsite in county. The level 2 criteria can be modified or added in order to increase the attractiveness of the campsite. Level 2 criteria include those facilities that can be constructed later after the site is being selected as a campsite. For the criteria of accessibility from the public transit, this will only apply for the tent camping or glamping site suitability analysis. So here is our level 2 criteria map. HP analysis again is applied for the level 2 criteria. This time, the weighting are based on the opinions from the online survey. The importance of the criteria has been reviewed by the respondent. This is the tent camping or glamping level 2 site suitability map. This time, we will use score to indicate the suitability of the campsite. This is the car camping level 2 site suitability map, and the criteria of accessibility from the public transit is not selected, and only the campsite that fall within the 100-meter buffer from main road and secondary road will be considered as the possible campsite. Here, we will show the reference of how we generate the final potential campsite map. Only level 5 campsite extracted from the level 1 site suitability map are proceeded for the further site selection. Finally, we will combine the two level site suitability result maps from tent camping and car camping. Further professional judgment is applied to erase some unsuitable land use or include for further selections of the possible campsite. So here is a dashboard of illustrating the final result that we have generated. We need to emphasize here is that the record here are based on the preliminary technical assessments for further professional judgment. It is not the final results for the campsite location decisions, as a campsite is case specific, and therefore further EIA with in-depth scenario planning and investigation are needed when you are applying for campsite application. We wish to make use of this pre-evaluated list to shorten the temporary license process to meet the seasonal needs. So I'll pass the time to Jenny.
Thank you, Sophie. Having considered the above, we finally give out 10 recommendations for consideration by the government. And this is an overview of our recommendations. They cover from the administrative level down to the technical and operational levels with recommended implementation timeline. Other than the difference in the definition of campsites from the perspective of town planning and licensing, we also observe that camping is one of fast-growing recreational activities. As such, we recommend the government to pay attention to this trend and take necessary actions to formulate the policy on revisiting the scope, estimating the potential growth and provision of recreational lands. Hong Kong does not have a comprehensive planning standard in relation to the development of campsites. We suggest the following 4 aspects for the campsite planning. First, we suggest including the general design guidelines, including covering the safety issue, intergenerational design, and zero or low carbon design should be adopted wherever possible for sustainable development. Other technical criteria discussed earlier can also be transformed into locational guidelines, say high required suitability rates. Furthermore, we suggest adopting the minimum standards in New Zealand and US, which is about 60 square meters per recreational unit, covering the common area and facilities. The remaining are sanitary fixtures, sewage system, and refuse disposal and collection. Other than the planning standards for long-term planning and development, Hong Kong also needs a review and amendment of the current regulatory requirements to meet the situation for developing outdoor recreational activities. Tent camping sites is an example. The review should also cover if the authority under Cap 349 can execute the powers for issuing a guest house license for operation of the holiday camp for temporary outdoor accommodation, such as tents and cabins. We can further shortlist the candidates from site suitability analysis results and include other technical and impact factors such as EIA and TIA into the level 2 model to develop a recreational land bank. To shorten the application process, a prior consent from concerned departments can be sought. This will speed up the process to meet the seasonal camping demands. And many campsites situated at the remote areas may be hard to connect to water supply and drainage systems for the water flushing toilets. Exemption can be given to the applicants if they can demonstrate how to maintain the hygiene and environment by the substitutes, like using the dry toilet. The other example is the exemption of building area for management office for operation of the campsite if it is less than a certain area. Some NGO and private campsites can be booked by the online platform like Klook. Yet, online booking system is not available for official campsites in Hong Kong. With reference to the international case study mentioned earlier, which is recreation.gov in US, we highly recommend the introduction of a one-stop booking system, like the campsite.hk for booking and managing all the campsites in Hong Kong. We also suggest to pool the experiences and feedback from campers in the platform for general campsite review. As mentioned in the local case study and stakeholder engagement, The administrative procedures for opening a campsite in Hong Kong are known to be lengthy and complicated. To allow more campsites to be operating in Hong Kong, it is recommended that CCO to be the coordination office to facilitate interdepartmental coordination and streamline the planning and licensing applications by a standardized procedure overall. From our stakeholder interview with CCO, the revitalization project in Lai Tzu Wall can well demonstrate their effectiveness in facilitating the holiday guest house application, and it could be a great reference for campsites. The cost of running a campsite has always been an important concern of its financial sustainability. We learned from many of our stakeholders that the maintenance costs on campsite facilities could be very high due to the deterioration or natural hazard. Funding support from government to NGOs such as the Countryside Conservation Funding Scheme is highly recommended to maintain the financial sustainability of the campsites. Besides, public-private partnership program could also be introduced as a business model for NGOs to operate and manage the campsite with the provision of infrastructure by the government. To ensure the campsite being a sustainable business, it is essential to maintain the attractiveness, like some campsites in Hong Kong with hobby farm, caravan camping sites with leisure activities, etc. Later, we will introduce a sustainable and detailed campsite proposal in Tap Moon with ancillary facilities and full range of activities for different age groups. As mentioned in the questionnaire part, education is important to reduce pollution and negative impact to the environment result from camping. So, developing an education center in the campsite with environmental education tour and activities is vital to put sustainability into action for campus to protect and enhance the natural environment. To ensure the success of sustainable campsite, the 10 recommendations are suggested to be implemented in 3 range of length. In short run, booking system can be implemented to manage the usage of campsite more effectively. While in the middle term, CCO could be the coordination office to facilitate campsite applications with government funding. In long run, we suggest to impose regulatory requirements, legislation, and planning standard on all types of campsite. All in all, the implementation of all these recommendations are highly driven by the government policy and initiatives. So finally is the evaluation part. Illegal camping has turned the grassland into a sandy landscape because of us. The yellow cattle are now facing risks on food supply in Tap Moon. So we don't wish to let the nature heal, but with camping. With the site suitability analysis, a potential site at Tap Moon was located. This is the yellow customs, which are actually uphill along a trail in which yellow cattle won't be able to get there. The original living environment is now becoming a favorite spot for camping, which is illegal. To tackle this problem, we propose an alternative campsite. The already damaged landscape could have time to get recovered. When we look closer to the design, it is divided into southern and northern parts. Each camping area as recreational unit consists of a tent platform, a barbecue area, and a table set. This campsite comes with a central shrine of circulation, which is actually the existing trail, a trash and recycling station powered by PV panels, with dry toilets and a management office will be provided. I want to share with you on our proposal further. The site area is close to 10,000 square meters, with 39 recreational units, with around 250 square meters, which is quite generous than normal standard, which is around 60 square meters. As play space and common space are provided to ensure the intergenerational use, totally it can house around 150 campers. To address how a sustainable camping would be, we look through these 10 sustainability impact variables. Provision of campsite can support local economy, which is a kind of rural symbiosis. At the same time, to match with the existing water sports nearby, and to ensure the leisure and cultural vibrancy and mobility can be further enhanced in the future. It is also important to consider variable work-friendly, intangible assets through promotion in education and land use compatibility. Replanting of grass can be done to restore the natural environment for cattle Also, connectivity of natural habitats and environmental impacts to sensitive receivers shall be considered. And some of the facilities mentioned earlier. And here shows some different activities can also be held here. Okay. To sum up, TAP 1 is just a showcase, and we hope that our study could create another recreational opportunity to meet the upcoming demand. This would also provide enough time to heal our nature, in which we refer to preserve biodiversity and at the same time to achieve sustainable camping in Hong Kong. We don't wish to develop a camping culture. Camping, but not tampering. Hope you all enjoy our sharing that we prepared for you, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Group 3. After 3 group presentations, let's take about 5 minutes break before we go on with the mini project presentations, as well as the Q&A and discussion session. Please come back at around 11:25, please.
Here it is. Geospatial Lab. What exactly is it?
Oh, a map? Could it help me locate restaurants?
I've been expecting you all. Come in and have a look.
There are quite a lot of computers and maps here. What do we usually do with them?
We're in the Geospatial Lab, established by the Development Bureau, operated by the Donghua Group of Hospitals, and supported by the Smart City Consortium. It aims at encouraging young people and startups to harness the use of spatial data to enhance daily convenience and promote business opportunities. Spatial data is in fact data with a geographic location, which is used to solve the question of where is it? It has already formed part of our daily life.
What are the functions of the lab?
This lab is an ideal place to organize activities about spatial data, such as seminars, talks, and interest classes, with the aim of promoting common spatial data infrastructure and its related applications. Experts are here to help you better understand this platform, so feel free to ask us any questions.
The lab is so tidy, comfy, and cozy, with advanced equipment available for use. We can get inspiration for our STEM project here.
Of course, Geospatial Lab offers multi-purpose area for hosting activities related to common spatial data infrastructure for the public. Students can work on projects on spatial data or exchange academic insights here, while startups can discuss the use of spatial data in the development of applications with their partners. Group brainstorming generates more ideas. Also, we will organize talks at different schools so that you can know more about this platform and the value and applications of spatial data.
Nice! Let me develop a snack shop app with spatial data.
Wow, this is perfect for me. I love snacks.
An introduction to spatial data. The government is developing the common spatial data infrastructure at full swing. Do you know what spatial data is? Spatial data is any data with a geographical location and answer to the question, where is it? Apart from the most basic map data, it also covers traffic information, location of public facilities, demographics data, and even store location, etc. At the Hong Kong Geodata Store, which is the alpha version of the Common Spatial Data Infrastructure portal, we can have access to different types of spatial data information, including environment, education, census, and transport, etc. However, there are certain useful data sets that are currently owned, analyzed, and stored in different systems by various public and private organizations, making them not entirely interoperable. To make data more user-friendly, the government has started to establish the Common Spatial Data Infrastructure, incorporating the spatial data stored in other organizations into the CSDI portal to enrich the platform. This is done by standardizing data formats and definitions so that all data meets the agreed standards. The Common Spatial Data Infrastructure runs like a supermarket, a platform for different providers to offer different merchandise, which is the spatial data with shelf tags showing details of the respective products. Spatial data based on agreed standards can be easily stored, searched, assimilated, and shared. For example, the government has launched the Interactive Map Dashboard for COVID-19. The public can then know the latest situation of the pandemic and the geographical distribution of confirmed cases. To sum up, the Common Spatial Data Infrastructure is the connecting point between the digital world and the real world. It propels the digital economy and enhances the effectiveness of the government decision-making process, hence our quality of life. With this one-stop Common Spatial Data Infrastructure, we can easily transform Hong Kong into a multifaceted smart city in the near future. To know more about the Common Spatial Data Infrastructure, browse this website.
大家平時有冇用地圖嘅習慣呢？你哋又有冇上網用地圖啊？就好似香港政府推出嘅 MyMapHK 地理資訊地圖，香港天文台嘅行山路徑天氣服務，漁農自然護理署嘅行山地圖，同埋2019冠狀病毒病香港最新情況等等。相信大家用地圖就用得多啦，但係你有冇諗過網上面嘅地圖係點樣整嘅呢？傳統上，如果我哋要整自己嘅地圖或者有地圖功能嘅 App， 首先我哋要拎一組原始嘅地圖數據，然後仲要考慮地圖資料版權、訂閱費用等等。除咗呢一大堆嘅功夫，地理更新先係最大嘅問題啊！因為每當地理環境有變化，地圖都需要更新。大家試想一下，如果用傳統嘅方法去更新你自己嘅地圖，即係你要重複咁拎原始地圖數據，每次更新嘅時候不斷重複再重複咁處理先至可以更新到，淨係聽到都一頭煙啦。No， 唔使愁。其實呢，自從有咗 Map API， 大家整地圖都可以應用地政總署公開嘅 Map API， 透過用 HTTP 請求嘅方法拎到最新嘅地圖資訊，咁樣大家就可以拎到最新嘅地形圖、影像地圖同埋其他位置信息。Map API 唔單止慳晒頭先所講嘅繁複處理過程，仲要係免費㗎，係免費啊！大家仲可以將拎到嘅地圖資訊直接用喺自己開發嘅 App， 又或者應用喺支援使用 Map API 嘅軟件入面添。
The District-Based Spatial Information Dashboard, jointly launched by the Development Bureau and the Lands Department, is one of the quick-win projects under the Common Spatial Data Infrastructure, CSDI, through which to facilitate the public realizing the benefits of using spatial data. The dashboard is a web-based application that uses charts, gauges, and maps to assimilate different types of spatial data and visualize district-based analytics. The dashboard has leveraged the spatial datasets currently opened up to the public in the Hong Kong Geodata Store and constituted 3 main prototypes, including temporary vacant government sites, elderly services, and childcare services. The dashboard has integrated the open spatial data and leveraged the interactive and intuitive district-based analytics to facilitate the public to identify suitable elderly and childcare services as well as temporary vacant government sites in an attempt to utilize the community and land resources effectively. For instance, the prototype of temporary vacant government site can help us, a non-governmental organization, better understand the existing land use and search for the suitable temporary vacant government sites for greening or community use. How convenient is that? We hope that the dashboard can provide practical, reliable information for Hong Kong citizens and that we can offer quality spatial information services in one platform to build an innovative and sustainable smart Hong Kong. We welcome any comments or suggestions on the dashboard service. You will all need to complete an assignment of inputting information.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We now come to the mini project presentation session. May I first invite Mr.
Hi, can you hear from my voice? Yeah, so let's begin on the first one for the mini project. So yeah, let's begin. So good morning, everyone. I'm Isaac, and today I'm going to present something about topic modeling, as mentioned in the group project. So in the old days, when we're talking about AI or machine learning, we often thought that it's about big tech company like Google or Apple. But nowadays, no matter what field you are trying to adopt in the technology to improve the working efficiency of your company. So today, I'm going to introduce how can we adopt the topic modeling for the document analysis. In the following 10 minutes, it's very relaxed. So I'm just call some key components of the topic modeling. So the first thing I would like to cover is what. So what is topic modeling? Actually, topic modeling is a statistical generated model that may apply the NLP, the natural language processing. So what it does is to cluster the words into certain topics. So today, among different methods of topic modeling, I have chosen the latent directory allocation LDA model to share with you. For the general procedures of the LDA model, it first scanning a set of documents that we have input, and then it detects the words and the phrases, and explore patterns, and it can automatically cluster the words into several topics as you have set. So for the key concept, the first one is the tokenization. So the tokenization means you split the text into sentences and then further split it into individual words as a token for the further analysis. And the second is lemmatization, which is transform the words in their root form, like plain to plain, beautiful to beauty. And the third is the removal of stop words. So stop words are the words that frequently appears, but actually they're meaningless. So just remove them. And the last one is the n-gram identification. So, for example, when Northern plus metropolis and individual words combined together, it have a special meaning, Northern metropolis. So this is the n-gram identification. So for the LDA model, there are two key assumptions. The first one is each document is a mixture of topics. For example, document 1 is a topic 1 plus topic 2 plus topic 3 and topic n. And the second assumption is each topic is a mixture of words. It means the words has their probability distribution in their corresponding topic. This is a very simple example to demonstrate how the LDA works. So there are 3 documents in this case, and I only consider the words highlighted. We can set the k equal to 3, which means we want to have 3 topics. The sports, transport, and annuals. So we can first form the topic word distribution, which assign each topic to a specific word. And then we can use this to, after that, we generate a document topic distribution, which means topic 1. Document 1 is 2/3 of the content is made up of topic sport, and 1/3 of the content is made up of the topic annuals. So why do we need to apply the topic modeling? So today our theme is urban studies, urban planning, and I'm sure sustainability is a key concept. So demand analysis is one of the very important components. So in a traditional way, we need to do a lot of document analysis before meeting stakeholders or doing the public engagement session, which is very costly. You need to involve lots of resources like time, money, and labor. So if we use the topic modeling method, so in this case, it can help us to be more well prepared, especially for the document reviews. For the benefits of the models, as mentioned, it's cost effective and time saving. And the third is explainable because the logic behind the model is a series of calculation of the probabilities. And it can help us to be well prepared, although you may not 100% trust the result, but it can help you to be well prepared for your further step. So how can we do it? So I would use 2 case studies. The first one is the Hong Kong Policy Address 2021. So I have extracted the Q&A session between the Legislative Council and the Chief Executive after the launchment of the policy address. So I have attracted the questions raised by the district councillor. The step is to import the required packages and do the data cleansing. And then, as mentioned, remove the stop words and evaluate the n-gram identification. So in this case, for example, in my case, I would think that, okay, Northern Metropolis or policy address or Hong Kong Chief Executive, maybe those phrases or terms that may be included in my final results. And then now I do the further pre-processing, and I have choose the number of topics I want. So based on the coherence, as shown in the figures, I have found that 6 topics is the optimal result number of topics for my LDA model. And finally, I can create my LDA models. So the highlighter is my results. To make my result to be more presentable, I put it into the data frame. So I have created 6. So I have 6 topics. And the first column is the words that have a highest contribution to that corresponding topics. For example, I take 2 rows. For example, for topic 2, the highest percentage contribution is metropolis, followed by Northern address policy. And I can, based on the words, that distills that topic 2 is mostly related to Northern metropolis. And for the topic 4, we can see the railway, construction, implementation, and the RCL or protection. So I can distill that Topic 4 is related to railway construction projects, and it may also related to some EIA, environmental impact assessment, or other environmental protection issues. So in this case, I have created 6 topics, and these are the 6 topics that mostly raised in the Q&A section about between the legislative councillor with the chief executive. In case studies 2, I have also used the LDA model to form using the district council minutes to form an LDA models. So those are the issues that are based on the LDA model, mostly discussed by the district councillor during the meetings. For example, how space program facilities, or how can we develop the thorough market road, and so on. So I have each model has its own limitations, but not LDA also has some limitations, I would say. So the first one is a fixed K. As in the demonstration, you can see I need to choose a number of topics first. So I need to, based on the coherence, to choose. You cannot automatically cluster n topics that is the best. So I need to set the case equal to 6 or case equal to 3. And the second is uncorrelated topics. So document 1 is a mixture of topic 1, topic 2, topic 3, but they can't find the relationship between topic 1 to topic 3 and topic 2, the relationship between them. And second is the backup verse. So LDA assume each verse is exchangeable, which means the order of the verse is not a matter. So this is one of the constraints of it. For the way forward, I think, especially in the demand analysis, I would say using, can we develop a semantic analysis, which means that we can see the positive feeling or the negative feeling based on the words that's submitted by the responses. And can we use it to be a preparation tool before meeting stakeholders, for example, doing the reviews of documents of legislative council, district council minutes, or something like that. So this is the end of my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Isaac. Let's move on to the next mini product presentation on Trail Advisor. Map out to explore your best shooting hiking trail with spatial analysis by Ms. Gladys Lai and Mr. Andy John. Gladys and Andy will make use of the story map to demonstrate how to explore different hiking trails in Hong Kong. Gladys and Andy, please.
Good morning. Here are Andy and Gladys. I'm happy to collaborate with Andy to present our mini projects, Trail Advisor in Map app to explore your best suits hiking trails with spatial analysis. Talking about the recent popular outdoor activities in Hong Kong, what comes to your mind? I guess many of you can think of hiking. According to a survey conducted by HKU and CareWatch in 2018, the popularities of hiking increased by more than 3.5 times as compared to the 1980s. To understand the hiking trend and behaviors in Hong Kong, I've collected data from Instagram and made use of some spatial analysis technique. They were integrated into Trail Advisor, developed by Andy, which allows the user to explore the best suits hiking trails. I will first talk about the project data. Social media nowadays is not just a means of communication, but also involve a wide range of information. These massive and dynamic informations create social reactions, such as comments, likes, and shares. In Hong Kong, Instagram ranked third amongst all the social media apps. The hashtag culture in Instagram making an excellent source to provide the insights into the changes over time and space. I've collected post information from Instagram with the hashtag HKHiking using web scraping techniques. There were about 7,000 posts related to this hashtag in March for a single month only. And this Trail Advisor will make use of the open data collected from Hong Kong Open Data. To understand the relationship amongst all the information, a social network analysis was conducted. The left figure shows the data schema of a social network. All the information will be connected to posts. The right figure shows the network of one of the popular locations. From the graph, we can identify the hidden relationship between the locations and hashtag. This hashtag are describing the difficulties of getting there.
We can also identify the top influential hashtag by using a graph algorithm called Rose Rank. The first group of hashtag is related to sport, like an adventure. The second group is related to leisure, showing how the citizens would like to explore different places in Hong Kong. The third group is the environmental protection slogan, such as leave no trace and take your litters home. For the top emojis, we can observe that the citizens usually go hiking with happiness on a nice sunny day. They love to capture the beautiful hiking scene for sharing. So where to go hiking? The right figure shows the raw data collected from Instagram with the popular hiking location on whole world scale. To obtain more accurate results, the first step is to filter out the location which is outside Hong Kong, outside the country park, and outside the hiking trail using the spatial operations. Then, the location nearby will be aggregated into one group for further ranking by social reactions. To facilitate you in understanding the results, I prepared a virtual tour on the 3D map showing the top 3 popular sceneries. The first one is Taichung Peak, which is also famous for its beautiful scenery with the hills and sea as shown in this photo. The second one is Kai Kong Lane. You can enjoy the view of the northern side of Hong Kong. This is the third one, which is the Tam Mo Shan, the tallest hill in Hong Kong that is always covered by fog. These 3 maps help us to get rid of haze and glance through the Hong Kong islands from this thrilling point. I also ranked the popular hiking trails based on the social reactions. The top one is Megahost Trail Session 8. This also passed through the peak of Tam Mo Shan. It normally requires 4 hours to complete the whole trail. In the middle of the trip, you will be standing on the ridge of Tam Mo Shan and seeing the most pleasing view from the highest point of Hong Kong. I think it is an excellent location for this beautiful scenery. And it is not a difficult trail, even though there are many steep steps at the beginnings. So after my introduction, would you feel like giving it a try? Next, I will pass the time to Andy to introduce his travel advisor. Let's see how we can combine these analysis results with other open data. Andy, please.
Sure. Thank you, Gladys, for presenting our major ideas and the entire data analytical process. And I will then move on to talk about how we distribute the analytical results and all the consolidated and derived applications. And perhaps it would be a good demonstration on the usage of IPS Experience Builder and the Survey 1-3. So let's get to the homepage of the online platform, which includes 2 major functions, the route finding and the incident report functions, which the route finding functions enables the users to explore the best suited hiking routes based on certain criteria, while the incident report functions allows the users to further understand the existing natural environment based on the cloud source data. So first go down to the homepage and you will see that there are some more featured routes which is recommended by which is identified from the Gladys analysis, and they are all highlighted here with clear proper explanations and their respective website link below. So quarterly updates of these feature routes could be made such that the seasonal hit routes can be assigned as suggested to users, giving further advice to them to pick the best routes in different seasons. So at the bottom of the page, other useful links and reference which users have to consider during the route planning, like the weather, the air quality, as well as some key information on the country park could be included at the bottom, and just the users can simply click the graphics and can directly direct you to the pages. So it is intended to develop as a one-stop online platform to allow users to gain all the critical information before they consider going hiking. Okay, so now we move on to the route finding page, which is one of the major functions. That it is built upon the database with all government-recognized hiking routes in Hong Kong, covering more than 140 hiking trails in Hong Kong. And the hiking trail database is criteria. Users are allowed to filter and identify the best suited routes. So the criteria include the locations, which refer to the regions of where the trail situates, the difficulties which is calculated with the considerations on the length, on the duration, and on the elevation profile, the route type which is classified in the 4 types, the nature, the scenery, the heritage, and the family. And lastly, not lastly, one of them is the accessibility to decide whether it is wheelchair accessible or not. The duration, it indicates how long it takes to finish the entire trail. And I combine with the greatest and mental results, the popularity, which is gained from the social networking analysis. So after applying different criteria, the rich result will be shown on the 3D map below. And in order to allow users to gain better understanding on the selected routes, it is displayed in a 3D map with topographical base map, while the elevation profile would be shown on the bottom right of the web page. And of course, the clear details of the routes will be displayed in a table format next to it. So this is the find route functions. And another function, as I mentioned, is the incident report function, which indeed I gain insights from my personal experience when I go on hiking. So I'm pretty sure that if you have went hiking, you will share the same experience that you encountered some incidents when you are on the trails, like the fallen trees or you find some garbage being disposed by other hikers or other users. So I think whether a database allowing me to report the incidents and share the information among the general public could be formulated. And as such, an incident report questionnaire is established with the usage of Survey 123, allow all the hikers or the other country park users to report any incidents they have encountered. So I can have a quick demo here. So let's assume that when you are going on hiking and you found that, oh, there's a fallen tree in front of you. So you can just simply take the photos, and with the usage of the Survey 123, given that the GPS function is enabled, and it will record the date, the time, and exact location on where you found the fallen trees. So after keying in all the information, you can submit the questionnaires, and it will directly upload to the server of ArcGIS, and the results will be shown directly on the incident report page on our online platform. So the hikers can just simply send the questionnaire results to our webpage. Yeah, and the submissions, once it's submitted, it will automatically update in this map, and other users can take it as a reference when they are planning their trips. So these functions indeed take advantages of using the crowdsourcing in developing the database, was to further analyze the patterns of incidents happened in different parts of the country park. So how can we make further use of this set of data is that once there's sufficient data acquired by different general publics, further analytics can be performed, like the correlation between the popularity and the rate of the disposal of garbage can be further analyzed so that we can gain more insights and gain more solutions. So lastly, as a wrap-up, our entire project was intended to serve as an experimental trial on how social network analytics and spatial analytics should be performed to come up with some social changing ideations to the general public. And hopefully it would be a good start. And I'm pretty sure that it can provoke further insights on similar studies on other industries. So this is the end of our presentation. Thank you for your attention, and feel free to
This is Andy. Let's move on to the next meeting project presentation on machine learning aided analysis for landslide susceptibility by Mr. Edward Chu. Edward will show us how to apply machine learning in landslide prediction. Edward, please.
Hello everybody, I'm Edward. Today I'm going to introduce how machine learning can be applied in rainfall-based landslide prediction to make a landslide susceptibility map. Let's start with the landslide history of Hong Kong. From Po Tan Road and Somerville landslide in 1970s, water landslides in 1980s, to a few serious landslides at Kung Lao somewhere in Fisher Road in 1990s. And a considerable amount of large-scale landslide at Atlanta in 2008. In the past few years, you may remember some landslide causing disruption of road traffic, like the ones at the Titan Road in 2017 and Fancam Road in 2018. Do you know why those landslides occurred? Yes, they were triggered by heavy rains, mainly associated with monsoon trough and rain and typhoon. Here is the spatial distribution of annual rainfall in 2021. Based on over 100 rain gauges covering the territory of Hong Kong, those rain gauges are managed and operated by various government departments. You can see heavier rainfall on Hong Kong Island, Kowloon, and Sai Kung last year. Annual rainfall is obviously not a good predictor for landslide prediction, as landslides should be triggered by a single rainstorm event. So it is more rational to use rainstorm-based rainfall to develop the machine learning model. Do you remember Typhoon Rock in October last year? It resulted in issuing Typhoon Signal Number 8, black rainstorm warning, and landscape warning. As you can see on the radar map at the top right corner, pulses of rainfall rain bands passed by Hong Kong, giving a persistent rainstorm on the day. The map on the left, the spatial distribution of the cumulative rainfall brought by Lion Rock. Heavy rainfall was recorded on Hong Kong Island and Kowloon. Record-breaking 24-hour rainfall was measured at 8 rain gauges on Hong Kong Island and Sai Kung, indicated by the blue dots. This comes to the most challenging part to build a machine learning model for the landslide prediction: how to characterize severity of rainfall under a rainstorm event. Any idea pop ups in your head? Any rainfall, cumulative rainfall, or hourly rainfall? Actually, this is a feature engineering issue. Maximum rolling 24-hour rainfall is a common way to characterize a rainstorm in landslide susceptibility. I use these two maps to explain this feature. The rainfall in midnight on October 8th, hourly on the left, rolling 24-hour on the right. While the pulses of rain band passed by Hong Kong on October 8th, rolling 24-hour rainfall keeps going up, as shown in the series map of rolling 24-hour rainfall at 1 hour interval. The one with the highest rolling 24-hour rainfall is the maximum rolling 24-hour rainfall map for the rainstorm. That will be used for the machine learning model to predict landslide. Let's go back to our question. When will landslide likely occur? That is our objective. Machine learning is a tool to answer this question. Here is the typical machine learning steps, starting from compiling relevant data sets and reprocessing data, followed by the model training and evaluation to build a machine learning model, then model application and interpretation to make the prediction. Here are some data sets potentially useful for the landslide prediction. There is a stock catalog keeping the record of registered manuscripts in Hong Kong, and extensive ground investigation records are available to show the subsurface ground conditions. We have over 9,000 records of reported landslides and over 100,000 natural terrain landslides identified by aerial photographs. In the past decades, there have been significant advances in remote sensing technologies such as satellites, LiDAR, and drones, giving us geomorphological information. Also, rainfall is always a key factor to consider. An extensive network of over 100 rain gauges with live reading data provides spatial and temporal rainfall data covering the territory of Hong Kong. How can we predict the occurrence of landslides? I believe all we know some technical jargons like artificial intelligence, machine learning, and deep learning. In this case, the technique that is more relevant to us is the machine learning focusing on 5 parts. Using the data analytics, we structure the data, which can be numeric like slope angle or temperature, or categorical data like geology or rainfall class, to train a model adopting supervised learning based on historical landslide records. How can we make a prediction using machine learning? classification model is that is a whether or not landslide occurs, or regression model, like a correlation between rainfall, correlation between landslide density and rainfall, could be our choice. Among various machine learning models, methods with ensemble of tree decision trees and neural network are the two main groups of methods adopted in literature. In view of the interpretability of algorithms and computational efficiency, the tree-based machine learning methods, that is random forest and XGBoost, are selected to develop a prediction model based on various potential features. Before going into detail to the model, I want to make a point. Although machine learning is a powerful tool to build a correlation for prediction, however, the domain knowledge and entering judgment on the landslide process should be considered in the analysis process so that we can build a physical meaningful model. Natural hillside of the lantau are chosen at the scene of the study. Thanks to LiDAR technology, we have high-quality terrain model of hillside throughout Hong Kong. In the coming slides, I will show you what the data are used and how the landslide susceptibility map looks like. What I'm showing here is the hillsides of the study area. The purple dots on it are historical landslides, which are identified from aerial photographs. This forms the prediction targets of the machine learning model. In addition to rainfall, obviously, terrain characteristics should be relevant to landslide potential. So geomorphological and geological features are considered as the predictors of the model. Here are the spatial distribution of slope angle, curvature, and catchment area and geologies determined based on the terrain model and geological map. I picked the slope angle of the study terrain to let you have a closer look in this flying blue. The warmer color represents steeper terrain. A cell-based binary classification model is developed from data compiling and preprocessing, feature engineering, to model building and evaluation, and finally, model application in landslide prediction. The approach of classification probability is adopted to overcome the data imbalance problem because of the rare nature of landslide occurrence in the datasets. Tree-based machine learning method, that is the random forest XGBoost, adopted to build a model, and the receiver operating characteristic curve is used to evaluate the model performance. Other parameters tunings of the machine learning algorithms are tuned to give the optimal model performance, and cross-validation is adopted to reduce the bias and variance introduced by random sampling of the data for model training. Here is the product of the machine learning model, a landslide susceptibility map, which shows the landslide probability of hillsides under a certain rainfall. The warmer color represents higher landslide probability, that means more susceptible to landslides. The landslide susceptibility map can be validated by location of actual landslides that occurred in the past, showing the ability of machine learning in predicting spatial distribution of landslides. With rainfall as one of the predictors, the model has a dynamic prediction capability as rainfall intensity changes. So now the screen shows the predicted landslide probability changes throughout the study area under different rainfall scenario. That is the end of my sharing. Hope you enjoy this journey about landslide susceptibility. Thank you.
Thank you, Edward. Let's move on to the last project presentation on investigating potential renewable energy in Hong Kong coupled with wind simulation. Mr. Li Zhimao, please.
morning, sirs and men. My name is Jamal. It's my great honor to be here today. Without further ado, let's begin and explore the power of data visualizations. Today, the topic I would like to focus on is working with Hong Kong towards the goal of being a sustainable city. According to the World in Data, the global energy system is still dominated by fossil fuel, and the modern renewables such as solar and wind are growing. And now as our energy systems transits, we as the citizens have the decisions to make about what source to choose. Energy is split into two categories, namely fossil fuels and renewable energy. By comparing fossil fuels and renewable energy, we can see that fossil fuel remain a primary source for energy generations. Under the classifications of fossil fuel, where energy generated from coal and gas make up almost 90%, whereas the third row is classified under renewable energy, where hydroelectricity take up 90% amongst the three renewable energy. Hence, there's an area of improvement for the wind and solar resource to generate electricity. Let's transform the data into a global map. 6 different types of energy resources are split according to its spatial locations. And the overview of the volume that energy is generated from, ranging from raw materials such as coal, hydro, gas, and etc. For example, let's take a look at the coal electricities. The size of the circle determines the volume of the coal used to generate electricity for that country. Evidently, we can observe that the United States and China use a relatively larger volume of coal to generate electricity as compared to other countries, which circle are evidently smaller. If you want to hold word to a country, United States, it provides another overview of the volume of use in each particular country and the proportion of use across 6 categories. We can see that electricity generated from gas is ranked the second highest and followed by the hydroelectricities. If you hold over to India, you can see that the main source of electricity is coming from the source of coal. It also comes to attention that Japan's circle is relatively smaller under the coal categories. This indicates that Japan is advocating in using cleaner energy as opposed to fossil fuel. Moving on, we now observe the trend of clean energy percentage for the past 20 years, from 2000 to 2020. On the right side, it indicates that the trend of 6 different types of energy resources and has been sorted from an increasing to a decreasing manner. As we can see, that wind energy has been ranked the top with a 24% increasement as compared to year 2000, and followed by solar with a 1.1% of increment. While for the most dominated resources, coal, it has shown a decrease over the years. By looking at the overall picture of the selected countries, it clearly demonstrates an increase in the percentage of clean energy. If you want to be more detailed, a simple click into it gives us a clearer breakdown based on the country. For example, looking for the wind, we can observe that the trend of wind in each individual countries. From here, you can see that almost all the countries are facing an exponential increase in the usage of wind to generate electricity. After taking a look at the trend graph, we can see that Hong Kong trend has evidently remained stagnant throughout the past 20 years in the area of coal, gas, solar, wind, and hydro. Amongst this lack of usage are 3 renewable energy. This brings me to the point of energy generations in Hong Kong. Let's take a look at the electricity generations in Hong Kong. We know that energy is crucial in the modern societies such as Hong Kong. See, energy is the fundamental of importance of economic activities. However, due to the limited energy resource, and is largely dependent on the external supply. With that being said, electricity generated was Hong Kong's largest source of carbon emissions, while only a small amount of energy is produced by the renewable energy, such as solar and wind. In addition, their massive amount of energy resource has been imported to supply the daily needs of the citizens. With that in mind, using the waterfall chart, we can see that the percentage of the energy generated in Hong Kong is 77%. However, to ensure a sufficient electricity usage, Hong Kong tends to import more than it needs, therefore exporting the excess out. In order to generate electricity locally, there are raw materials needed such as oil and coal. By leveraging on the tree map, it shows that country materials are being imported from and the volume in each year. For coal, the biggest importers either from Indonesia, Russia, or Australia. Although China has been identified using the coal as one of the main source to produce electricity, surprisingly, Hong Kong did not really import coal from mainland China. As for oil, Singapore and Malaysia appears to the top importer, followed by other Asian countries such as Korea, Taiwan, or sometimes can even be Emirates. With that being said, it's important for Hong Kong to invest in renewable energy, especially so with other countries being few steps ahead. Let's take a look at the current clean resource for energy generation in Hong Kong. Renewable green energy in Hong Kong refers to energy that derives from the natural process and replenished constantly. Here we take a look at the wind resource in Hong Kong. All the information is extracted from the Hong Kong observatories on a monthly basis for the past 25 years. These locations has been categorized into 5 categories: mountain, seaside, city, island, and others. With blue being the highest wind speed and the red being the slowest. On average, on an overall comparison, we can see that part of Hong Kong are ideal to generate wind energy, such as White Islands and Green Islands, where wind speed is stronger. Therefore, based on their respective categories, we can identify areas with potential wind resource at the ideal locations. After identifying the potential locations based on their wind speed, we can visually see the surrounding through an embedded Google Street Map to visually see the locations and examine their suitability built on wind farm either offshore or onshore. For today's presentations, Llama Island will be used for demonstrations. Llama Island has commissioned the first commercial scale wind turbine to support the development and the applications of renewable energy in Hong Kong. Besides Llama Island, there are also other projects and initiatives has been carried out by other institutes in promoting the clean energy generations. Although the level of contributors might seem to be small, but it's definitely a great action to start with. Furthermore, there are initiatives proposed by Hong Kong's Climate Action Plan and by year 2050 to cease using coal for daily electricity generations and trial of the use of new energies to achieve a net zero electricity. There has been a new news release this year mentioning Hong Kong could get its first offshore wind farms in 2027. Before I conclude these presentations, let's watch the simulations I created. For your information, the skills will not adjust to the actual situations. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamal. Let's move on to the question and answer and discussion forum session. Today, we are honored to have Professor Anthony Ye, the Program Director of NUA, who is also a renowned urban researcher focusing on GIS and remote sensing, and also Surveyor YC Chen, Head of the Spatial Data Office of the Development Bureau, to host this session. Will Professor Ye and Surveyor Chen please come on stage?
Well, thank you very much for spending the Saturday morning with us. Now is the question and answer period. So we have some questions on the chat box, right? Okay. But actually, there are some questions related to different groups, right? Not for us. Right? Now, maybe for in lieu of time, right? We'll try to group them into different questions according to group first, right? Okay. So maybe let's ask for group one first. What are the essential steps to deploy the tool developed by you to other districts or other places of the world, right? It's very interesting, right? Okay, and so I'm gonna get ready for the answer. Okay, then for group 2, there is a close relationship between urban vibrancy and the accessibility to and quality of green space in Mongkok. In what way are they related? These are also interesting questions. Now for group 3, it's basically about the major challenges in meeting the diverging needs of the local campus and campus from other parts of the world, right? And so how are you going to deal with it? Okay. Then I think, well, very complicated. Yeah, maybe we will try to roll on and see. So there's basically these 3 questions or these 3 different groups, right? So maybe let's have group 1 first. Can you answer the questions?
I think the essential step are the tools we introduced in the presentation, which is ArcGIS and the AI procedure. And actually, these are 2 approaches in analyzing the rainwater management capacity of a district in Hong Kong. Solar Tackle is just an example. We can deploy those steps in GIS or AI in other districts in Hong Kong as well. So we can assess the water management capacity of different districts or even a wider territory if you've got the geospatial data and just input the data to the ArcGIS Pro, or if once the AI, the machine learning model is well developed, actually we can input a large amount of satellite image or aerial photos into the machine learning model so you can analyze the typology and also the rainwater management capacity of different types of land. So we prefer AI more actually because it is more flexible and it can learn by itself, even though it is a very big piece of land or even like a city-wide, like the satellite image of the whole city of Hong Kong. We can also input the data into the AI model so we can produce a result for us. So we think that it is not only restricted in Tai Po as a small district, we can also apply the whole concept to a wider territory or even other cities. But one thing we need to pay attention is that the typology of different cities may be really different. So the AI learning model, you have to maybe adapt particular parts or to adjust particular parts in the AI model to fit particular characteristic of different cities. Yeah. So hope this answered your question.
Okay, thank you. Maybe then let's come to the group 2. Right? It's about the relationship between urban vibrancy.
Yes, you mean I'm a representative of urban Isaac. I think the question is mostly related to the relationship between the urban vibrancy assessment and the green space assessment. As mentioned in the open space assessment, we can see that in the central area, there's lack of open space or green space we identified. So in the relationship, we think that is a slightly inversely proportional relationship. So it makes sense because we know that in the central regions of Mongkok, it's a very vibrant area. It's full of shopping malls, cinema, restaurants, and so on. So there's a lot of physical infrastructure, and the lack of green space is a common phenomenon. So in our recommendation, we also know that we need to add the green space. But what is the definition of green space? Is it really need to be a park or something? And in the limited area, we cannot build a park in the central area of Hong Kong. So in our recommendation stage, we propose adding green features. For example, the pedestrian street, adding green features in order to deal with this problem. So this is what we can done in a limited resources, limited places, or limited money or other things. So I hope I can answer this question. Thank you.
Group 3 first, before we will get back to group 2 later on.
Lily from group 3. For the question from Professor, thank you for your question. And we consider the needs from local campus and overseas campus have divergent needs in terms of the camping style. And for local campers, the needs are generally from leisure activities such as for family, friends gathering, etc. And for the overseas campers, we consider the needs are generally for adventurous camping. So in our project, we have considered different types of intergeneration camping design, such as car camping or tent camping, which cover a variety of attractive activities, such as the playground or educational local tours for all the different age groups, which could both address the needs from local and overseas campers.
Thank you very much. May I invite group 2 again? I try to summarize the question from the online. You probably have recommended some mitigation in your recommendation to trying to do something for the excessive violence. But how about would that finally would create another loss of characteristics of the major, say, the central Mongkok? Any downsides from such an excessive vibrance mitigation? That's the first question. And given that you will probably know that the Prince Edward West should be very vibrant on weekends, but actually due to the flower and birds, no. Would you consider that the weekend differences in different time slots like that? Okay, so thank you for your questions. For the first question, so as we all know, Bangkok is a vibrant areas, and people go there is for dining and shopping. So what is the actual meaning? Is it excessive urban vibrancy problem? So I think, yeah, this is very confusing. Maybe you feel very confusing. Vibrancy is a good thing. So the place is more vibrant is very good. So, but in our when we're doing these studies, we think that actually we need to balance different stakeholders' views. So, I'm not a Mongkok resident, so I'm just go there for the restaurant, dining, and shopping. I don't care about any green space. But for doing the project, we need to consider different stakeholders. There's a Mongkok resident there. They need parks, and we have a planning guideline, etc., something like that. We need to think more. So in a simple words, we cannot be selfish. So I think this is one of the very key concepts that we need to add for green space, no matter how vibrant it is. So we need to know the Mongkok capacity and consider all the stakeholders. And for the Bar Street, yes, we propose the street is as a home choice street. So if you know, this is just next to the police station. There are a lot of bar there. So for the activities, we'd like to organize something like a film festival, like beer festival or wine festival that you can see in the Stanley or in the Lan Kwai Fong. So is this a daily based activities? I think it's we do not plan to do so because it will affect a lot of things. We need to do further assessment for do so. So it may be a weekly or monthly or yearly, annually, I don't know. There's festivals to enhance the vibrancy of those area of regions, especially in the Prince Edward West. So we hope that we can enhance the vibrancy level, but not affecting the local resident up there. If our plan affect others, we need to do further assessment, right, in order to make our plan to be more practical festival. So I hope I can answer your questions.
Well, thank you very much. I think in view of time, maybe we can have one or two questions on the floor, right? And now we have just answered those from the online. Any questions that you would like to ask? Anything about the group presentations and presentation or even else, right? From the floor.
Please raise your hand if you have any questions, and we shall pass you the mic to deliver your questions. Any questions regarding the 7 presentations and as well as the topic of urban analytics?
If not, I think, well, there's end of the question and answer period.
For online participants, you may still input your questions in the chat box in case you have any questions. We shall try our very best to answer the questions there. So for the time being, yes.
Thank you for the presentation. I think the presentation was really professional and also visually pleasing. I just have a general question. In the process of doing research, is there any open data set that you guys really want to get, but is not available, no matter from the public sector or private sector? That's my question. Thank you.
So, any presenters would like to answer? Isaac? Yes.
Okay, I just answer. As a student, we would like to, especially during the Mong Kok Springs, we need to have a lot of reference centers or other organizations would like to do the urban planning or urban renewal plan in Mong Kok. So our group want to do so, but we don't have the top racial data. So we assume the height and then defined by the local forest, etc. to do our calculation. So if you ask, Group 2 would like to have the top racial data. So yeah, this is Group 2 situation.
Yes, I think one of the problems that we collecting the data and we have, this is why we have the attended course and course teach us how to apply the data analytics and to collect the information. For example, for the cancer vacancy, for our projects, campaign suitability of the campaign and the opportunities, and we have to collect more information about the vacancy, the space, or some other information collected from the related to the environment, but most of this information cannot be very easily to be collected or to be opened up by the government. So we have to use many analytic methods. For example, we collect from the LiDAR data, from the satellite imageries, and to convert it into the data that we need. So I think, yes, thanks to the program, and I think thanks to other candidates, and allowed us to have the tennis that we acquired to some amazing projects. Thank you very much.
May I supplement a bit, though this is not from a question from Electrical. Okay. Actually, this is why we are here. The Development Bureau and with the support of ITB, the Innovation Technology Bureau, we're driving the common spatial data infrastructure. This is not merely an open data initiative. This is how we're trying to standardize the spatial data and release for sharing with others. And we plan to release some say about 500 something like that data sets in the coming by the end of this year through a CSDI portal for public. Actually, the CSDI for government, CSDI portal for government has been launched earlier in May for trial use with some 300 something to 400 data sets for the time being. And all the data sets there it's in GIS format and open and machine readable with metadata and specifications and with APIs for system developers. So, and downloadable, and most important of all, is free of charge. So, we do hope that with that as a start, we can have more and more spatial data available. Say some may be transformed or converted from the open data, the data.gov, and we are trying to track and see and discuss with the data providers whether they can convert such data into spatial formats. And we will give some initiative and encouragement, such as some resources for them to do the conversion. That's what we are doing now. We are trying to do this as a start, and we do hope that not only the government data will be shared, but we would like to have some, say, the public utilities companies, they can share through the government departments. For instance, for the time being, we got some parking vacancy. Even this is a real time data through the energizing coding office, and we will try to put real time data as well. And transport department will also release some real time data, such as the meter car park data through the portal as well. So we do hope that this is only a start, and we would like to have more data for different users of different levels to play around or to do something, or some very for more serious policy formulation. Thank you.
We see another question there.
Maybe one follow-up, maybe just one follow-up regarding on the open space data setting, and because we have a climate action as well, and then one of the presenter has mentioned about net zero target, and then related to those carbon emission data or matter from government or from the private sector or public sector. Do you see there is any plan to align together with our climate target that's set by government? Thanks.
I would say we continue to discuss with the environmental bureau to see how much data they can release, facilitating that. Actually, we all wish to have achieve such target and the zero carbon neutrality, something like that. And as I just mentioned, not only the ENB needs to do something. Actually, we certainly need support from something like the HEC, the CLP, the town gas, and all others carbon emission utilities as well.
Thank you so much.
May I just do an advertisement as well? Actually, the lands department is also doing or constructing a 3D map for the entire territory. Under the and it's targeted to be completed by end 2023. With that, we will have actually part of it is now available in our geodata store, the alpha version of the CSDI portal, and it's like coding the 3D pedestrian network. And other than the mesh model, we would like to have the individual building objects in 3D forms, as well as some in around 1,000 buildings with for those publicly accessible areas. We would like to have indoor maps as well. So stay tuned. We would like to have a more 3D city data for different users, and I do wish the analysis in the future. Not only we can do the area analysis, we can do the 3D space analysis. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and thank you, Professor Ye. It's time now, 12:30. We have to end the Q&A section now. Now, may I invite Professor Anthony Ye to give us closing remarks. Professor Ye, please.
Okay, thank you. Surveyor Chen, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Well, first of all, I would like to congratulate the students. They're really doing a great job in a very professional way, presenting all the ideas. And also, I would like to also congratulate you because after you finish your work, you can get a degree, right? That's very important too. Also, I would like to thank the supervisors. Without them, I don't think we were able to get such a good result. We would like to thank Dr. Kenneth Tang, Professor Jimmy Leung, Dr. Kenny Wong, and also who are the supervisor in the studio, and also the teachers in the MBA program. I think now teaching is difficult to achieve this type of level, right? And basically, our MBA program is only this is the first one, right? The first batch of graduates, right? And this is an experiment for us, and I think we are very lucky to have a very good first batch of students, and so that we are able to get very good results. And you can also see that basically in the presentations, right? This is also what we are believing in. Urban analytics is not some sort of mechanical exercise, right? Actually, it's so easy to play around with numbers. What we call number crunching, right? But at the end of the day, you have to answer certain problems. What are the problems that you try to do? And more importantly, after you have done the analysis, how can it be really change the world, right? And so I think you can see from here, they are really hoping to change the world, right? Through urban analytics as a tool only, right? So this is something very important. Okay, and there is always a saying saying that, well, there is no limit in what we do. The limit is only based on your imaginations, your knowledge, and your skills. But one thing they're missing out over here, you also need the data. You have urban analytics, right? And so this is the reason why I think the initiative of the Common Spatial Data Infrastructure, the Urban Bureau, is so important. And also why this Geospatial Lab is so important, because then you can enable you to play around with the free data and more abundant data with all these type of good facilities. Because sometimes if you even want to play around with it, you need software, but it's expensive. It's all here, right? All sorts of different, and also we have some experts here to help you as well, right? So good ways to make use of the good data, the good facilities here to help Hong Kong and also yourself to advance our into a smart city. I think there is no way we cannot be smart. There is only one thing is that can we be smarter? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Ye. May I also extend our sincere gratitude to Surveyor Rising Chen and also colleagues of Geospatial Lab who allow us to host this webinar here and make the event a success. Besides, on behalf of the Center of Urban Studies and Urban Planning, we would like to thank for the generous support from our supporting organizations. In alphabetical order, the supporters are Building Smart Hong Kong, Hong Kong Alliance of Build, Exit and Environment Information Management Associations, Hong Kong Geographic Information System Association, Hong Kong Institute of Planners, Hong Kong Institute of Surveyors, and Smart City Consortium. I believe our audience have gained some insights on applications of urban analytics using different advanced technology from this webinar. Time is now about 12:40. We have to end the webinar now. We hope to see you all again in our upcoming events. Please stay tuned from the website of Geospatial Lab and also Center of Urban Studies and Urban Planning. Participants at the Geospatial Lab here are welcome to join a guided tour of the lab. If you are interested, please stay behind and gather at the sofa area on my left, and our colleagues will guide you the tour. Thank you very much, and goodbye. Thank you. Yes, if you would like to join the guided tour, you may